Hello and welcome back to the DP World Tour Picks and Bets. Skylar, Hoke here, coming off I don't know the best word to describe the PGA Championship, but Tom, it was better on your end since you came out with a victor and Justin Thomas. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. You know what? I almost don't take any pride in Justin Thomas winning yesterday because although he did what you hope he would do when you bet on him, right? Mito was really, really good for a long time, and it was just the most bizarre choice. Like not even the club, just like how he hit it. It was just like how he's like literally just how he like followed through. I was just like, that's bad. I was like, before you even see where the balls landed, it was worse than I thought it was going to be. But I felt really sorry for him actually. And then obviously Zalatoris, obviously you were on, and someone that we've followed for a long time. Like you almost hope he's going to break through, and then there was a couple of stories where you'd actually just be really happy for them. Fitz. Cameron Young's been playing well, and then I just thought, well, it kind of just looked like Thomas for a little while where it was going to happen, and he stood up and was counted, and that was it, really.
Yeah, it was a painful watch for anybody that kind of had a bet around there, or even somebody who could have made a couple more putts near there. I mean, every single person probably could have won that by 3-4 strokes had they played the back or even made some putts. I mean, Zalatoris probably feels the worst as he missed so many shorties over the weekend. I mean, it's a game, you know what I mean? Like you sign up for that.
Do you know what actually I think is worse is that I think he finished the week 10th in putting. And
yeah.
And when you look at his major performances, that's when he putts the best. And what's really concerning for him is he's not winning when he putts his best. And that's a little bit of a concern. Like everyone sort of says he just needs to have a good putting week, finish 30th in putting, then he'll win. Doesn't necessarily ring true when you look at the major championship. So I think there's been a very different, when he was second at the Masters, it was a real bonus and a really good performance. When he was second this time, it felt like he did throw it away a little bit. So slightly contrasting events.
Yeah, 3 out of his best 4 putting performances in his career are the 2 majors, and then this past weekend. And he hit the ball well this past week, but definitely over the weekend gave some shots away. That is the argument. It's like you wait for these weeks, and the fact that he couldn't capitalize on his best short game weeks,
that's the concern.
Is that a sign that he shouldn't?
Yeah, you almost need him to do what Spieth did and win while losing strokes putting, because he's going to hit it so well, because it just deserts him on Sunday, right? And he's not the only one. He's not the only one that just started hitting the ball bad, but it's what it is. Another Rory does a Rory thing. But we'll skip past those, otherwise we'll be into a 45-minute conversation about people that should have won the PGA Championship as opposed to the Dutch Open.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm excited for the U.S. Open. We have more of our guys there than the Open Championship, of course. And I love getting to see courses not familiar with and learning about them in the lead up.
Did you like the course?
So I would say that I was on vacation over the beginning of the week, so I didn't get to pay a ton attention to Thursday, Friday. But I think it's great. I enjoy the struggles more than a birdie fest. I enjoy a single digit under par, and I never thought it was unfair. You know what I mean? So
it was unfair in the sense to half the field that got out of the wave, right? I think, but it wasn't unfair like the greens got away or the rough was too hard or anything like that. I thought it was a perfect setup, and it actually just got aided by the fact that the weather was so bad for some people. But I thought it was good. I thought it was a good test. I thought that when you look at the people that, when you got to the final rounds, I sort of made a joke about who was there and what the final round leaderboard was. They're all ball strikers, right? Like JT, Zalatoris, Mito, Cameron Young, Fitz to an extent, Tommy, Chris Kurt, Rory. Even Tom Hoke and people like that. It was what it was. So I think the right people performed, and half the tees were kind of cut out of it maybe, but Thomas defied that. So
Yep, I think, and I mean pushback from players on bunkers and different to get it a little bit more difficult than you get it every other week of the year. It's just classic. I mean, it's classic. So it's like nothing can really push back on because they have it so good. But yeah, that's if I could have this week in and week out, that to me is fun. And that was a direction where you could, like, I love being able to look back on the week and see thoughts on which you could have came into the week and almost just nailed it, you know?
Yeah.
And I felt like I was very in line with the way it came out. And of course, you can be very in line and still lose, but you could find a way to make a reason on that versus people that were like, this is the most random leaderboard ever.
I don't think anyone that finished aside, okay, maybe Brendan Steele, maybe Chris Kirk, right? But like the other guys were playing good golf and fit the criteria. So I didn't think it was that kind of surprising. I was surprised that Cyril played as well as he did. I thought he'd just get frustrated with it. But other than that, everyone else was kind of pretty obvious.
Yep. So when you go from one side being very obvious, then we'll head over to the DP World Tour, where last time we did see it, I kicked myself a little bit for not betting Sam Horsfield. Like that probably should have been one we know. Of course, he does that to us, but it is what it is. We move on to the Dutch Open, Tom. This swing, we're hitting a swing here. Some good events on the horizon as we head back to the land where Christopher Broberg, had the greatest putting week known to mankind, I think, last year when he almost gave it away on Sunday, still was a victor. So we head back to the Dutch Open. Bernardus Golf in the Netherlands. And we only saw this one time last year being kind of its debut. Outside of Broberg putting the lights out of it, what was very intriguing to me was if we are going to go on a single line of thinking on the way to attack this course, you don't get many things lining up as well as it did as the strokes gained approach leaders last year, literally being like the top 10 of the event. Any thoughts on last year's event as we head into this one?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's really hard when someone has such an outlier performance like Broberg did, that it kind of morphs it a little bit. I think the Dutch Opens typically are, they do reward the sort of accuracy over distance and the iron play. So I wasn't entirely surprised by that. I just remember Broberg just being lights out and not really. I kind of forgot that Schmid was second to him. It's like it was a period of golf where it was really hard to get into, I think. And I think it's coming at a time where it's off a major championship, it's a little bit easier. But I don't really remember the course too much. I've kind of just gone down the lines of if they've played well in Holland before, if they're hitting the ball well, if they're in form. I think eventually that will kind of pay out rather than trying to focus on what Broberg did or didn't do last year.
Yep. And that's when kind of sneaking down that rest of the leaderboard. And there was a variety of golfers who were really good off the tee to those that are really short and accurate. When you see Schmid and then you see like Dietrich, and then all of a sudden Darius Van Driel is on the leaderboard. It was just a variety of off the tee skill sets that you just really had to hit those irons tight, make putts, which can lead to some variance, and that kind of really can roll us into the odds board. I think we're, as an industry, attracted a little bit more to these favorites this week than maybe usual. We see Burned coming over after a strong week at 20-1. Peters, another made cut there. 22. Meronk, arguably should have been in the PGA Championship. If you remember our show, I was like, okay, he'll be the first alternate. Well, actually, that's not how the alternate list worked for it. They had reset that to PGA Tour guys, so Meronk should have definitely been in there. Sad for him. So Meronk is 22, Fox 25, Jordan Smith 28, Rasmus Højgaard 30-1. Who we like up top?
So should we go into your one first? Because obviously I think yours is kind of the shortest price, right? And I really wanted to bet him. So I'll obviously let you give your kind of thing on it, and then I'll give you my kind of drawback as to why I didn't in the end. But yeah, you give us the reasons for Ryan Fox.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Fox, it was a debate between Burned and Fox for me. And it's because when you just zoom out, they are a clear, like 1-2, when you look at approach being the most important factor for those guys of the top tier talents. I would say I give the nick to Burned when I would say who is a better iron player, but Burned just can't really putt. And it's been something where, okay, so if you have to question if a guy at 20-1 is going to have to find it on the greens for him to win, I don't think I could pull the trigger. So that's what led me to making the decision on Ryan Fox, who has been, since his win in Ras Al Khaimah, unbelievable with the irons, gaining over a stroke there per round. Then he finishes 15th the next week, positive with the irons, and he's really good at the Catalunya, really good at the British Masters, really good at Sudal Open, finishing 9th, 8th, 2nd, continue to progress. Probably should have won, gave it away on the back nine. And then PGA Championship, he goes out with another really, really good iron week. I mean, overall, he was inside the top 10, I believe, in irons there. So to do that with the best of the guys in the world, I think it's incredibly impressive. Now you got to come back. You got to leave on a Sunday. You got to arrive maybe on a Monday late or Tuesday morning. You factor that in. But I just don't want to go away from what I think is the best iron player who can get hot on the greens too.
Yeah, so for me, like when I wrote up Fox originally, and I just put why not again, and he was gone 13th, 6th, 12th, 1st, and 8th with his irons. And to your point, that 8th came in the PGA Championship field. When I started looking back over the recent years of when he's played in major championships, he kind of misses the cut afterwards, and I kind of wonder whether he kind of put himself too much into it. But interesting enough, while you were talking there, I just sort of checked upon that again. And I go back to 2015 when he played in the Open Championship, and it was a different level, but he won the following week on the Challenge Tour, then finished 10th on the European Tour, then finished 3rd again. So he actually continued form really well in 2015. And, that was the last time he won twice in a year. And he's probably playing like he's going to do that again. And really and truly, that 54th place finish last week is probably about as bad as he could have got, I think.
Yeah, look at the other guys who finished near him in strokes gained approach. And he was positive off the tee, so Reed was the next below him, and Reed was really bad off the tee. Reed finished 34th. Siwoo Kim finished 60th, and he was really bad off the tee, and he was below him in approach. You go down, literally, you'd have to go all the way down. No golfer under a stroke per round was as bad as the way Fox finished. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And I think also, like, she shot 3 rounds level par for the first 3 days, and then shot a 77. And I think, we talk about people kicking themselves. Like, he was like 11th, like one shot behind the top 10. So whatever that was, there was plenty of them tied there. So probably like 20th place. But he was 5 off the actual winning score in the end. Like, maybe he just pushed too hard on the final day. Or maybe he knew there was an opportunity there and just tried too hard, and that kind of thing can happen because 7 over doesn't really, on the final day, doesn't really tell the whole story of what he did all week.
For sure. Those are my favorite opportunities to jump on. When you can rule out 18 holes of somebody, and it's like, okay,
yeah,
they should have been here. Yep.
So I haven't, because I've gone with this person, but he was close. So Rasmus Højgaard, I thought top 8 in approach and tee to green at the Belfry. He was 4th after 54 holes there and slipped down to 16th. And he was 4th after 36 holes at the ISPS Handa as well in Spain, but just fell away completely the weekend. But I just think that kind of came off that spell where he was playing well in America. He'd finished 18th at the Valero, where he was also 2nd after day 1, 13th after day 2, and then shot a kind of final round 68 to vault himself back up into the top 20 after he'd fallen out of it. And, it looks like his game is pretty much where it needs to be, barring, a few kind of bad holes or one bad round. So I think at kind of 33 to 1 or, whatever price it is that you can get on Rasmus Højgaard now, that's what he was when I was kind of looking at him. Like, I think that's a pretty good odds on someone that we know can win. That there's definitely question marks about people in this kind of area of the betting, despite the fact that, we've spoken about Fox and Bernd there. I don't have the questions I have about Bernd Wiesberger that I have about Wiesberger with Rasmus Højgaard. So, even like Moronk, we've seen him kind of chuck it away a couple of times. Peters, we know what Peters can and can't do. Very good record in this event. But I thought Rasmus was probably the most solid as a sub.
Yep, I think you rule, if you want to play that game where you rule out the top guys. He's a clear one to go with, and the odds are a little bit longer than what you'd anticipate. Irons firing, like you mentioned, definitely can be interested there. And when we kind of go in these selections, I think we find ourselves naturally maybe progressing a little bit deeper guess not deeper. I mean, we each normally would go one favorite here, maybe one mid-range play, and we'll back it up a little bit. So I think the next guy on the board would be your pick, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mansell,
So
50-1.
I actually thought you might come with Richard Mansell, and I think I was disappointed because what he did at the British Masters, we thought he was going to kick on from that, right? And we thought that this could be the chance for him to really go and contend. He played really well that week. And he kind of did what he does. Like, he was full fast 36 holes and then just fell away at the weekend. And that was a little bit of a concern. But he was 6th in approach that week, 16th tee to green. He's now been 30th, 26th, 8th, and 23rd his last 4 events. And then when you look at the fact that he was 6th here last year and 3rd after 54 holes, he's been top 10 in tee to green and top 16 in approach over the past 2 months in this field as well. I just felt like Richard Mansell probably was worth going for once again, because it does feel like it can happen. I still think there's a little bit of element of unknown of whether he can play well in contention. So, because he's not quite getting there, like he's almost shooting himself out of it in round 3 or round 2, and we're not getting the opportunity to see if he can cope. So, a little bit of an unknown, and I quite like that still.
Yeah, I think there's enough in the odds to rerun that, and go
Yeah.
back to the well with him. And I think he's just one that's hard to nail, and one that when he does it, he can do it big. And I'm excited for him. And I think the flashes have been consistent enough to definitely go back.
He's on that price where you don't love it. Like I don't love the value of it, to be honest. It's right on the border of it was the kind of how well he played here last year that kind of tipped me over the edge, because I've tried not to put too much stock in course form of late, especially when it's just 1 year. But with him, I think that's quite valuable.
Yep, 100%. And I think the one for me, and I guess the one for both of us, right? I think we're on this golfer together, is the one that I would argue would be still a little bit of the unknown and trying to figure out what is the upside for Yannick Paul.
Yeah.
And, he has shown that in back-to-back weeks. I mean, the second place at the Suit All Open, 16th at the Betfred British Masters, after he kind of had fallen off the map for a little bit. He was 10th then at the ISPS 2 weeks before that. So we're looking at 3 top 20s in his last 4 events. And what I loved is I always kind of portrayed him early on as somebody who was really, really long off the tee, was built around power. But I think it's his irons that are his, specialty. Especially the last couple of weeks, we see him very, very strong. Last time out, his brother actually is firing on all cylinders in the Corn Ferry Tour as well. Jeremy Paul is looking like a PGA Tour card. But I think both of them. I mean, this is a lot of fun for what Yannick, and there's still enough guessing in that price. I was pretty surprised to be able. I think in the States he was as long still as 80-1. I like that a lot for Yannick Paul.
Yeah, so for me, one of the factors you mentioned there was how his brother Jeremy's playing. Like, he's flying on the Corn Ferry Tour right now, 5th, 16th, and 7th his last 3 events. He's had a 26th on the year as well. And I just wonder if that's like a factor. Like, are they egging each other on? Does he know that Jeremy's going to get it on the PGA Tour via Corn Ferry, and he will have to get there via playing really good stuff on the DP World Tour, maybe winning and get himself an invite on the PGA Tour? Because you know how these things work out, right? Like, Alex Fitzpatrick is going to get invites because of Matt Fitzpatrick. And, if Jeremy Paul gets to the PGA Tour, then Yannick Paul will get some invites as well. But I think Yannick would like to do it his own way. And he's just playing so well, like over the last sort of 4 events, 10th, 52nd, 16th, second. He's been 5th and 4th last 2 starts in the strokes gained tees green. He's 4th in approach as well. So I thought he was really solid. Like, he was bogey free on the Sunday in the Sadao Open, and I think he'll be disappointed he didn't birdie one of those last 2 holes. Like, he started the day 2 back, finished 2 back, and both those holes were birdie opportunities. But I think the fact that he went bogey free when he was in contention is pretty impressive.
Yep, absolutely agree. And we're in alignment on a lot, Tom. I think as we go into this next golfer here, it's a golfer we are awaiting the big breakthrough. And I think we've been licking our chops for the moment.
We couldn't wait, could we?
Literally, we could not wait. And I had to inform both you and Brad that we might have licked them a little early, because our guy, Sean Crocker, he finishes top 10 last time out, right? He ended up
Yep.
finishing top 10. First points he's accumulated for the European Tour this year, DP World Tour. That is looking at somebody who was easily inside the number last year, is fighting for his tour card right now. And at this very moment, we're talking on Monday, May 23rd, U.S. final qualifying is going on. And that's the first time that the States one's happening right now. Dallas, Texas, arguably one of the most difficult ones that you could play in. And our boy Sean Crocker, 7 under after the first round, second right now. He was like 5 under through 12. Then he had a bogey, and I was like, okay, don't fall off the rails, kid. He comes out 3 more birdies in a row. Like, he is rocking it right now. Hopefully he can get one of those spots into the U.S. Open. He'll do that. He will then cash for us 125 to 1 ticket this next week, and then we can bet him at the U.S. Open with all our winnings. What do you think?
Is this like the new Guido? Is it? If he gets those couple of wins straight away, like, it just feels to me that, like, we were desperate to play him, like, all season long, right? Like, I said to you on the Sadao Open preview, I said, Sean Crocker had 1 good driving round and 1 good iron round, and I was like, he's going to play well. But we were like, probably not. And then he finishes top 10, and I'm glad he didn't win, because that would have been really annoying. But then I thought, okay, he's going to be too short this week. Nope, right there, still triple digits. Let's play him. Now, admittedly, when I'd kind of written, like on a draft day when he writes Vontae Mac no matter what, I'd already done that kind of on one of those post-it notes. I just really wanted to play him. Like, his irons were just great, and once he's doing that, he was 7th tee to green, 8th in approach. That's all you need to see. He was actually 36th on his KLM debut. It was a different golf course in 2019, but he was 15th after 54 holes as well, and that's before he was a good golfer, or the level he is as well now. So, by all accounts, I think Sean Crocker is one of ours that we want to win.
Yeah, and I mean, I look at this again. Here we go. I mean, you have Neesmith, Kitayama, Mackenzie Hughes that are ahead of him, Nick Taylor, Bio Kim, Roger Sloan, Stallings, Hadwin, Harding, Fratelli, Sabatini, Cook. I mean, this is like our boy Drew Matthews said it's like a glorified alternate, like, PGA Tour event, and that's kind of what it is. And for Crocker to go out here lights out, that even makes me more confident. Now we got to think about this. So this happened last year. Johannes Veerman won, or actually, who won this actually last year? I think Matty Schmid won this exact qualifier, but Veerman got through.
Right.
And Veerman, I think, got delayed. They finished on Tuesday. Then he had to wait till Wednesday morning to fly. Again, going America to Europe, you're basically losing 12 hours right about. So he got there like Thursday morning, teed off Thursday afternoon, and missed the cut. But Crocker can't afford to skip this event. Like, he's gonna have to play it. So unless the flights don't align, which Dallas big airport, he's gonna get there. You just got to pray it finishes today, and that he can get there hopefully Tuesday night, maybe Wednesday morning. It might even be better if he doesn't see the course, man. Just show up and play golf. Like, that's kind of what he's doing right now with this qualifier.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. It's hard, isn't it? It's really hard to know what's going to happen, I think, and you just have to take your chances with it. I think I'm just looking at it. Veerman was 6th in the Dutch Open last year, so it must have been
But Dutch Open was played in September.
Yeah. So what was it that he missed? Was it the Himmerland?
I'll tell you.
I think it was Himmerland. I think that's where he missed the cut. So that would explain that. So, yeah, I don't know. Does it put me off? Not really, because I think it's just confirmation that he's playing well, right? Like, I
agree. I love it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change how I feel. I mean, when you told me, I was like, oh no. And then I was like, hang on a minute, that's probably a good thing. So, yeah, I think that's good. I think we also were going to talk about Marcus Armitage.
Oh, you're right. I skipped right over one of my guys. Thank you, Tom.
I'm excited about Sean Crocker.
I got really excited about Sean Crocker. I couldn't wait to talk about it.
I didn't know if it was that or you thought I was back in Armitage. I was like, no, definitely not.
No, you're right. I think there's just a simple case with Marcus Armitage. I think there's 3 golfers that are the clear best iron players in the field: Byrne, Ryan Fox, and Marcus Armitage. And why is he 65 to 1 here? He's been fine all year. He hasn't been great He hasn't been bad. He shows up some weeks. He is always good with the irons. That is literally my case. It's all that mattered here before. If you can find it with a short game, I think maybe a tougher test might set up a little bit better for Armitage, but 65 to 1 to bet, you could make an argument for maybe the best iron player in the field is easy for me.
I think consistently he's probably the best, isn't he? Like, we don't see this from Fox as often as we see it from Armitage, and Burnt, probably Burnt, I suppose, maybe. But I think the upside of Armitage and the consistency probably leads him to be one of the best iron players. And I think, I think that he's a better player than maybe he gets credit for, but just because he has those kind of middling finishes, and he just needs to break free from that. And I think his price never really moves because they know how strong of an iron player he is, and that's actually a credit to how good he is, right? Like, if he's still sitting there at 45, 50 to 1 when he's, not playing that great, then that means that, they know something's coming. So I think all the things line up for Armitage to be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to me, when I look at it, I guess you could probably just plug your nose and do the same with Eduardo Molinari. He's probably the next one that is like that.
Yeah.
But
I just think we know what Molinari
good.
is now. Like,
Yeah.
with Armitage, with Mansell, with Paul, with these guys are, even with Ryan Fox, we don't know quite where their career's going. Like, it could really take off. They could have a Bernd Wiesberger type, eruption on the DP World Tour over 3 years, right? Molinari had that and has never replicated it, and that's the issue. Like, he had that kind of comeback win in 2017, I think, when it was at the Trophy Hassan, like in Morocco, he won. I think it was there, but that's like the last time we've seen him win, and that concerns me a little bit. Like, I just think maybe his winning days are done, and top 10 finishes are just really good for Eduardo Molinari now.
Yep. So before we go into triple digit land, I guess we already crossed Crocker. Before we get even deeper with some selections for it, I will say, make sure you are rating, reviewing, subscribing to us on audio formats. You should have seen this pitch I gave Tom on vacation. There was a guy who's lining up. He's playing in the U.S. Open final qualifying. I was like, dude, like, we just chatted all day. He plays Mondays. He's out there. So we got a podcast listening on Monday. So shout out Ricky here. Best of luck in your sectionals. And I was like, you can find us Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets, the mix right here, Mayo Media Network. Rate, review, subscribe goes a long way for us as we continue to build this.
You say it just like that on the beach to him, like, is that how you?
Yeah, I'm so excited. Once you find out somebody's got that same itch, Tom, it's like, oh man, are we best friends? So, but no. So I think overall, if you are somebody who's more of an audio listener, you can find us again right there. Rate, review, subscribe goes very long way for us. So let's start. I'll go first because I got two remaining here. I'll start with Justin Walters. So Justin Walters for me is a simple case of flashing with some irons before this event. You saw him finish T3 at the British Masters, Catalunya Championship. He was inside the top 20 with his irons there too. And Walters just has something in him that just, like, you feel there is, I guess that finish was the best finish we've seen out of him since he finished second in 2020. But overall, I don't know. There's just enough in Walters' game that I wouldn't be as surprised to see him get in the mix here when it just kind of suits what he does the best. So that's really kind of my case for a golfer at 130 to 1, who's trending arguably as one of the top 10 guys iron-wise in the field.
I was a bit worried. I don't know if you saw it when he was at the Belfry. He had a bit of an injury, and that was the only thing that put me off Justin Walters. I think it was his ankle or knee, maybe. He's had 3 weeks since then, so I think he's probably okay. I think I looked at him, like, I thought it was really interesting when our cards came through this evening that, like, basically everyone we've kind of either agreed on or looked at, which is positive, like, it's positive reinforcement. So when I messaged Brad earlier about my picks for the podcast, he come back and said that we were on the same lines as well. So you like those weeks and you hope they go well. But I like a lot of what Justin Walters has done. It feels like he's a player that probably should have got a win by now, and that's one of the knocks you would give against him. Like, he plays 30 times a year every year, but it hasn't. And winning's hard, and what happens when he wins, I don't know. Is he the type to go on a Richard Bland trajectory? Probably not. But, like, I don't think you would have said that about Richard Bland 2 years ago. So I think we give up on golf. I was listening back to my Colonial podcast last year to kind of listen to what I was thinking, and I was saying, like, I think I was putting the case forward for Patrick Reed at 22-1. And I was like, I can't believe Scotty Scheffler is shorter than Patrick Reed because, he's never done it. Patrick Reed's on 9 times. And yes, I think Scheffler might win a handful of times, but, he hasn't done it. A year later, he's kind of like a, 4 or 5 time winner and the Masters winner. So things change so quickly in golf. So the people that kind of rule people like Justin Walters out, probably not necessary when 130-1, there's not really much to disagree with.
Yep. I mean, that's, you can make any sort of little argument for a guy at this level. It's like, okay, there's enough. And I'm pretty intrigued actually by your next golfer here. Is there's some life that's been shown without the finishes being reflected. And that's why you get the numbers you do, but you can make a compelling argument. So sell us on Paul Waring.
Paul Waring is someone that I've wanted to bet for about 3 months. And every time I go to do it, his numbers, like off the tee, and his irons are dreadful and he can't putt. And you think, what does he actually do right? Why do I actually like this guy? And it's all because he actually just hits the ball a mile for someone of his age, right? Not necessarily a massive factor here, but I do think it can play into it. And he was 10th after 36 holes at the British Masters. And that's when I thought, oh no, like I've missed the boat. I think he was like 200-1 that week as well. But he shot 80 on the Saturday, didn't really recover on the Sunday, finished 63rd. And the same thing at the Sadao Open. He was 10th after round 1, and then he was 8th again after round 3 because he shot 67 Thursday, 66 Saturday, and then just had the 2 bad rounds. So when I look at it, he's got great distance, can get hot with his irons, could have a better putting week. That's what you're betting on at 200-1. And he's finished 11th, 12th, and 16th in the KLM Open in the past on different courses. So does like playing in Holland is one of those things. I don't know whether you can quite bundle this together, and this is really trying to kind of give any sort of reason, but he won in Sweden. Sweden and Holland are not that different, I don't think. I actually Googled whether Holland counts as a Nordic country. No, it doesn't. There's actually quite some angry posts about that, so don't Google whether Holland's a Nordic or not. It isn't. But yeah, that was kind of my thing, that Sweden and Holland, not that much different. Paul Waring's won in Sweden and play one in Holland.
What I thought, I went and pulled this up. So if you remember the British Masters, and there's a few golfers, and I think we could go back and note this because I might have mentioned Waring specifically. So he was of the bunch who
delayed,
didn't get to finish his round. And then, so this is some scores in the last 8 groups finishing up the 3rd rounds this morning, final 7 holes. Waring played those in 8 over that morning. And again, that's April 24th. So was that that had to have been the British Masters, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
April 24th. So yeah. So, I mean, that kind of gives a reason to what he was kind of dealing with at that time. I don't think it was the British Masters.
I think I remember you tweeting that. Was it not in Spain? Was that not when he went back?
Yeah, because he missed the cut. I believe he missed the cut.
Right. Yeah. So that might have been in Spain.
When it happened, or he MDF. So it was just like even life, yeah, because he only has 1 missed cut because it was 12th, and then he went and missed the cut after he opened up there. He was 66-69, and then he got MDF'd because of his 79 he shot there. So, like, I mean, you could pull up in tour tips and what he was leading in. We can pull it up here. That week he missed the cut. He was in those first 2 rounds, 17th and 10th, I believe it says here. No, 8th and 12th. So he was 12th after 36 holes after being 12th there. So it was like there is some signs of Waring. So I really, really like
actually, so that's actually made it even better because as soon as I saw a miscut, I didn't bother looking. I normally look if it's like 47th or 50th, I'll look at what one round might have gone wrong. The fact they missed the cut, I think, okay, well, he wasn't good enough. Wow. So that's just furthered it, that basically means that he's playing 2 out of 4 rounds well every week, and he just needs to play 4 rounds out of 4 every week.
Yeah, I'm absolutely adding Paul Waring too. I like that a lot, Tom, because I think he's exactly one of those guys that has done it for 36-ish holes, and you're getting a great number. So perfect. Okay, I'll be adding that with you, and then
I'm so intrigued by this, by the way, because this next one that you're coming up with, I was on Oddschecker earlier, and I scrolled down to the most bet players on Oddschecker, and this guy's name came up at 2,500 to 1. And I was like,
slashed.
Yeah, I was like, who on earth is doing this? And then Brad messaged me, and I was like, oh, it's your fault. And then you messaged me, and I was like, oh, it's you guys. So, yeah, give us a case for Cohen Kuinar.
Oh man, normally I don't get you to lead the pronunciation. You took that one off the table for me. I appreciate you. Yeah, Cohen Cohenar. So if you Google or search for him on Twitter,
I couldn't spell it, by the way.
Yeah, no, you got to copy paste it. First picture. So he always gets an invitation to this event. They invite some of the best Dutch amateurs or even some of the best Dutch golfers who aren't in the DP World Tour yet. They might be like Cohen here on the Alps Tour, on the Pro Golf Tour. We've seen a few of these other invitations. There's actually another golfer that I thought was kind of interesting, Rowan, something Cohen. I'll pull it up as we go here. Yeah, Rowan Caron is the other one who has been playing decent. But if we stick with our guy here, 750 to 1, Cohen Kuinar. He's coming off of his first professional golf victory. So 2 events ago, he was first in the Alps Tour. He did miss cut the next week. Completely write that off after getting your first win. He went 4th, 2nd, and 1st. He had a 3rd place not too long ago. He had a 5th place to open up this year. So he's sitting here with 5 top 5s in 8 events on the Alps Tour, and getting to come to an event, I guess home country finish. He made the cut here last year when he played in this event. He was 15th after the first, or inside the top 15 after his wave, the first time he played this in 2019. And also, if you look at his amateur career, he did reach 24th in Wagger ranking. So a lot of his other guys that might show a flash here or there, like they on these smaller tours, maybe like don't have any pedigree before this. If you can partner that with somebody who at least made a run up the Wagger rankings, I think that always at least gives you more solitude knowing there's some upside in there. Getting 24th without playing golf in the States, I think is pretty impressive. Going to college here. So for me, that was enough at 750 to 1 to bite the bullet.
Yeah, and he's got one of the most hideous pictures on the European Tour feed ever. If you just type his name in on Twitter, they're showing his hands, because a bit like Alex Noren when he's hit 1,000 balls a day, and that is revolting. That we might need to get our producer to put that on one of the odds boards and put that out on a tweet later on in the week. That is horrendous. I'm going to say obviously a hard worker, but yeah, he wasn't dating anyone that week. That was horrendous.
But I mean, overall, I mean, it's you see, like I look through his years before his years. I mean, he had played, I guess not all that much, 12 OWGR sanctioned events in the previous years. So I'm assuming he got through Alps qualifying school, if they even had it existing at the time. So then he comes out there and he's just, literally like the best player on that Alps golf tour, one of the top guys there. So you get a shot like this. You mentioned Crocker. Is that the Guido? We know Guido cut his teeth here, man. So maybe it's our sign to get somebody who's got some life. I can't believe he was 2,500 to 1 this morning. I'm sure Brad got a juicy number.
Yeah, well, I think he probably was 2,500 to 1 until Brad decided to dive in, and now it's 500 to 1 or whatever. But as we always say, you don't need a lot for these guys, right? You skip a cup of coffee, as I like to say, and go and bet on these, and just hope he has a good week. I mean, he was, like you say, he was inside the top 15 at the time where he posted that hideous picture of his hand, and then it all went downhill, which is probably why, because he probably couldn't grip the club. So interesting golfer, interesting week. I think it's really interesting how aligned we are. I'm glad that you've kind of furthered my case for Paul Waring. Probably quite scary that I'm now all in on Paul Waring, but here we are. This is the Dutch Open. Yep,
amen. Now let's review our card for everybody here, and we'll close out.
Yeah, so Rasmus Højgaard for me. I think the odds board says 25 to 1. He was 33 to 1, but happy with that. Richard Mansell at 40 to 1, maybe 50 to 1. Yannick Paul as big as 80 to 1. Generally 66 to 1. I think Sean Crocker 125, 130 to 1. Paul Waring, I did not look at his name on the odds board, but he was 200 to 1 over here. I think that's probably similar to what it was on the odds board. 200 to 1 it was. And that's me done.
Perfect. So
I was just about to read out all of yours then, and I was like, that's not my job.
Yep. So for me, Ryan Fox, 25-1, Marcus Armitage, 65, Yannick Paul, 80, Sean Crocker, U.S. Open champion, 125-1, Justin Walters, 130, Paul Waring, 200, and then Kuinar, I guess if you pronounce the whole name, I just saw he was in the Big Money Classic as well as I did some research here. Cohen Kuinar, 750-1. Let's go out with a winner this week, Tom. Let's get some cash.
It feels like the time. It feels like you're owed one after last week. I just keep luck bagging all these wins. So I've got this kind of luck thing going on. You've got the kind of despair going on. So hopefully between the two of us, let's say that Paul Waring wins.
Yeah, I'm seeing Paul Waring, Sean Crocker exact.
That'd be fantastic.
If any books are listening to this, throw those odds up there. I'm thinking maybe what do you want? 3,100-1. That sounds good. We could throw a couple coffees on there.
I'll have more than one coffee on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good luck to everybody this week at the Dutch Open. We'll be talking to you soon.